Hello, sellers. Come on in. Come on in. I'm Kathy, and I love to be selling. And we're going to talk about, we are going to beat eBay returns. And I've got three top seller secrets that are going to boost your profits. Because eBay returns are very, very frustrating. And eBay returns eat up your profits. And I'm going to talk about how to deal with returns so it doesn't eat up your profits. At the same time, dealing with returns so you can boost your sales, because that's the point, right? When you follow me on my Facebook business page, I love to be selling. And those of you that follow me there, thank you so much. You know that what I do is I deliver tips on eBay selling that you can do, that are actionable, that you can understand. And I explain why they work. And I explain the accuracy, and I explain all about it. And also thank you for all of you who watch my YouTube channel, Kathy Terrell. And if you are, hit subscribe. Thanks so much. And also my podcast. Thank you. I got several nice comments on my podcast. In fact, in my recent trip to Washington for DC Advocacy Day, I met a wonderful seller who listens to my podcast. So that's a thrill. That's a thrill to meet people that are using it. So thank you, my podcast people. I appreciate it so much. So let's talk about this. So first of all, about eBay returns, beat eBay returns. And there's ways to do it. And I'm going to give you three. But first, particularly for my newer sellers, but this can happen even for experienced sellers and for sellers that are returning to eBay, this can happen, is you're out there to get information. So you're listening to YouTubes, you're listening to podcasts, you're reading things on social media about eBay returns. You might subscribe to blogs. I mean, there's a lot of information out there on the internet about eBay returns. So my first word of advice to you, and this is also to me, when you are reading things about eBay returns, is check the date, the year, particularly the year of the information, and it'll be there. If it's on a blog post, it'll be there. If it's on the YouTube, you can see when they uploaded it. But really, I encourage you to check when it was posted, because things about eBay returns have changed over the years. And if you're coming back to eBay selling, you know that. The other thing is, realize that sometimes when people put content out about eBay returns, I particularly notice this on YouTube's, is they're talking about one really bad experience or a handful of really bad experiences on returns where they had a really challenging buyer, things like returning things, empty boxes, returning things severely damaged, going on, and realize it's the minority. And the reason it's a minority, I run a large Facebook group for sellers, over 17,000 sellers. So big shout out to everybody in eBay selling, nothing but eBay selling, is you wouldn't have 17,000 eBay sellers and hundreds of thousands of eBay sellers selling very successfully on eBay, with many full-time sellers, many multiple six-figure sellers, if the majority of buyers weren't great buyers. It just wouldn't happen. eBay wouldn't be the successful corporation that it is, and it's a multi-billion-dollar global operation. And sellers wouldn't be as successful as they are. My part-time seller friends and my full-time seller friends, the majority of buyers weren't great. However, there are some challenges you run into selling on eBay, and some of them can be tied into returns. So that's what I want to address, which is how can you set yourself up for success on eBay, and you're keeping your eBay selling profitable, because returns can really eat into your profits, so that when you get an occasional return, you have an occasional challenging buyer, that you're set up for success, that your business can deal with it, your selling can deal with it, your profit margins, how much you're making, can deal with it. And it's not something that's going to wipe you out, okay? So please, when you listen to people where they're talking about horrible returns and horrible buyers, realize it is the minority, but there are things you can do to safeguard yourself when you're dealing with situations like that. So let's talk about returns. We're coming up on Father's Day. So this is May 28th. There's a lot of Father's Day shoppers going on right now, right? And we just sort of got through graduation season. So you had graduation party, graduation, gift, people shopping. You've always got birthdays, anniversaries, people shopping for themselves. I mean, there's always a lot of different shopping going on eBay, but right now you've got Father's Day coming up. Okay, and then right after that, you'll have back to school. So it's good to think about retail moments that are going on eBay. So think about this. You're shopping for a Father's Day gift on eBay. Yay, we want people shopping on eBay for Father's Day gifts, right? Yay, you're doing that. What are you going to be doing if you're shopping for your Father's Day gift? So you're looking, either you're doing like general searches or ideas. Maybe dad loves camping equipment, so you're looking at camping equipment. Maybe dad's a golfer. Maybe dad loves to read. You're looking, or he collects antique books. You're looking for the newest, greatest antique book for him, but you're searching on eBay for whatever you think dad's going to love, right? So you're looking for items, you're checking prices, you're looking at pictures, and you're checking return policies. Now, why are you checking return policies? So I'm buying dad an antique book, okay? If for any reason it's not exactly what I thought, or dad isn't totally thrilled with it, or maybe he ran out and bought another one of these antique books that I'm buying him and he didn't tell me about it, so now he's got two. Whatever the reason, me as a shopper, I want to see that if there's any kind of problem, that it's not going to be a problem for me to return. So I'm not looking to return, but I want to be able to return. And if you're not aware of this, so you've got sites like Poshmark, which have different return policies than eBay. You've got sites like Amazon, different return policies than eBay. So different sites have different return policies. People are used to, for the most part, Poshmark doesn't do returns except for under very specific circumstances. But if you look at general, broader, bigger retail markets, which eBay tends to compete more with, like a Walmart, like an Amazon, you can pretty much return anything for 30 days, okay? And depending on how you bought it, either the buyer is paying return shipping or the seller is paying return shipping. Well, the great thing about eBay is it's not one size fits all. Amazon tends to be one size fits all. They set the return policy. If you're selling on their marketplace, this is what it is. Same thing with Poshmark. They set the return policy, and then if people want to appeal it or whatever, they have to go through Poshmark customer service. But with eBay, if you're not aware of this, you set your return policy. Now, you only have a certain amount of choices, so it can't be just anything, but you can set your return policy, and you may not be aware of this, again, because many things have changed on eBay over the years. So you can set up your return policy. And I wanted to go over this. So all you got to do is go on the internet and search eBay return policy, and you get to this page, setting up your return policy. And I wanted to point this out to you. So you have 5 choices on eBay for your return policy. 5. No returns, 30-day, buyer pays the return. So yes, Jimmy, I will take back the item, but you're going to pay for the return. 30-day, free returns. I'll pay for the return, me, the seller. And then 60-day buyer pays return, 60-day seller pays return. Okay, so you got 5 choices. And I point this out because many of you are soup to nuts sellers, or even if you sell within a specific category, let's say I just sell a lot of children's toys or I sell a lot of crafting items, I might want a variety of return policies depending on, I might have, for instance, crafting supplies. I might have one return policy for my kits and another return policy for things like the wool, okay? So just realize that is within whatever you're selling, you can have different return policies for different categories. So I could do 30-day buyer pays return on clothing because sometimes people buy things and it's just not a right fit. But I might do 30-day free returns, which for me, I do typically on my collectibles because I don't find collectibles come back. So I'm glad to offer free returns, because when you offer free returns, it does help you a little bit in search, and we always want to do well in eBay search. And I never get the stuff back, so I'm totally fine about offering free returns. So again, look at your inventory, look where you tend to get the most returns, look where you never get returns. I have collectible sellers that have told me, Kathy, I never get a return. Then you might take a look at doing free returns. Like anything you test. Kathy may never get returns on her collectibles. So you go, okay, I'll try free returns. And then all of a sudden, oh my goodness, you get 3 returns. Oops. So you know what? Then you go back to 30-day buyer pays returns, which is, I've got no problem taking the item back. They're paying for the return. I'm not out any money. Okay. And then I relist it. This actually just happened to me on a clothing item. Okay. I got the item back, and actually the person had bought it best offer. They got it. It was bigger than they thought. No problem. I took the item back. I refunded them, and it sold 4 days later for more money. So let me know if that's ever happened for you. You take a return, you get it back, and you list it again, and it sells for more money, and you make more money than the first time. Isn't that fun when that happens? And just for you to know on that item, because with clothing at times, not all the time, again, it doesn't quite fit, even with the measurements and the listing. It's like it's a little tighter than I thought. This person says it was too big. It's like, okay, it's bigger than I thought. It's not fitting the way I want. I did calculated shipping, which means they paid for the shipping. So when it comes back, I'm only refunding the item price. I'm not refunding the shipping. So they're out the cost of the shipping to them, and they're out the return shipping. So if it is something where you might get back 2% of the time, 5% of the time, take a look at charging for shipping, because then you're only refunding the item price. That's a bonus tip for you. So offer returns. The reason you want to offer returns is if you don't, and I know some sellers go, no, I'm not offering returns. I'm not. It encourages them. I beg to differ. But again, you know, that might be your experience. So again, this is the great thing about eBay is it is our business. As long as we're abiding by eBay's terms, we get to set our return policies. The reason I encourage you not to do no returns, unless it's like a custom item I totally get, is it encourages people to sort of game the system. And I don't want to do that. I don't want to incentivize somebody to game the system, which means it's no returns. They're going to get it. They're not happy for whatever reason. It didn't fit the way they thought or whatever. They're not going to say that. They're going to find something wrong. They're going to go through your listing, and they're going to find something that's slightly off. Like you measured it and said it was 13 inches pit to pit, and they're going to claim it's 14 inches. You said it's red, white, and blue. They're going to claim it's maroon, red, not true. I mean, they're going to find something wrong where they can claim item not as described. They will find a couple of loose threads, and they'll say, oh, there's loose threads. They didn't, say they're going to say something. And they're going to force an item not as described return. And the reason you don't want that is that means you have to pay for the return. If they open an item not as described, you are out the money for the return ship. And also you are out the money for shipping to them. So that's what I'm saying. Offer returns. It just keeps it easy. It also encourages shoppers because again, the shoppers, right now, Kathy shopper, I'm shopping for Father's Day. I'm shopping for an item for my dad or for my husband. And I want to be able to return it if there's a problem. Okay. And that's what it's about. But pick the return policy that's right for you. This is how to fight returns, is offer returns. So that way you're not sort of encouraging people to do a false item not as described. So that's my first one to keep the money flowing and in your pocket is, yeah, you'll take the return. Because interestingly enough, and you tell me if this has happened to you, is somebody will open a return that, sure isn't really what I wanted. You know what I mean? And they open a return. And then what they realize is that they're not going to get refunded the shipping to them, which means maybe they're out $5 or $6. And then they're going to have to pay for the label back. So they're basically going to be out like $10. A lot of times they figure, you know what, I'll just keep it or I'll give it to somebody. So again, the returns attracts more shoppers. By offering returns, you get more people browsing your stuff, more people shopping because they have the confidence to think, if there's a problem, I'm going to be able to return this. So that means more sales for you, more views on your product, more business, more sales, more money. Yes, you will end up having to take some returns. But again, like the shirt I just got back, I'm not out the original shipping. I'm not out the return. Sure, I'm not out anything. And when you do a refund, you get your eBay fees back. I'm not out anything. And I made more money. Do returns. Okay. You have choices. Measure. Okay, this is a big one. Measure. And I see this is a big thing. And I see a lot of people, shall we say, encouraging people to do this. And it's like, again, we all have different eBay selling styles, but they'll say you don't need to put the measurements in the description. You don't need to put the measurements anywhere, item specifics, nowhere. All you have to do is take a tape measure. I have my handy little tape measures. So you take a tape measure, typically it's a yellow one, and they'll measure. So for instance, like my lovely Nike shirt, they'll measure the pit to pit and they'll take a picture of it and they'll do the length and they'll say, see pictures for measurements. Okay. The reason I still encourage you to put it in the description is sometimes when it's in the picture, it's hard. Like I'm sitting there with my fingers because it'll be on the phone and I'm trying to blow it up. And it's like, is that, especially if it's not right on the number. So it's not right on the 12 or right on the 13 or the 14 or whatever. It's in between. It's like, is that 12 and a quarter or 12 and a half? I mean, what is it? And you're making me work too hard. And when people have to work too hard, typically they'll just bounce out. They're like, you know what? If you can't be bothered to put the measurements in the description, I can't be bothered to shop with you. So you're measuring it. You can even see it in the picture yourself, just in the description. If you just want to say, you know, Ann Teller flower top, women's medium, and then just do the measurements. It makes it easier. You want to make it easy for your buyers. I worked in retail for well over 15 years. So at Macy's, Bloomingdale's, Crate and Barrel, all these places, is they're putting the items out and you've got the prices. And then a lot of times they would also have like little folding signs and it would have details about the product. It's microwave safe, you know, this kind of thing. So they're making it easier for you to understand about the product because they want to make it easier for you to shop and to buy. And that's what your description's about and your title and your pictures. I'm making it easier for you. So I encourage you to measure and put it in the description. It takes 4 seconds, 5 seconds. It's not a lot of time. And I do understand, yes, if that's 5 seconds per listing and you're doing 10 listings, that's a minute you saved. But you're helping to prevent a return and you're building a better buyer experience. I'd rather get up 5 listings a day than do 6 or 7 and have those 5 listings be quality, that they encourage people to shop with me because they're really clear and they give the buyer all the information that they need. Okay. So measure, and not just clothing, toys. When it's things like bears, and I'm trying to think, bears and unicorns and Cabbage Patch dolls and just all these different, you know, dolls that are, it's Mickey Mouse and Minnie. There are so many sizes. There's little ones, tiny ones, medium ones, huge ones. And you would think, oh, well, you know, I just said it's a large Mickey Mouse. Well, there's a lot of large Mickey Mouses. Is it a 12-ounce Mickey? Is back to my tape measure. Is it a 14-ounce Mickey? Measure Mickey, Minnie, you know, Pluto, the dog. Measure them. And it's helpful to measure the height. I always say approximately, by the way. So I'll say 16 inches approximately, 5 inches approximately, pit to pit approximately, because that way if I'm off by 1/4 of an inch, right, I'm not going to like, I've never had somebody, you know, come back at me and say, it wasn't 16 approximately, it was 15 approximately. I just do that to sort of cover myself from people that can get overly legalistic. Measure the toys, the vase, the cup, okay? Measure it. Is it 4 inches high, 5 inches high, 6 inches high? The vase, the lamp, and things that have width. I'll even do it on mugs sometimes when they have really big handles. I'll measure the width so that people realize the size of this, right? This is a big mug. This is a really little mug. This is a big doll. This is like a smaller doll, because that way I'm helping them. Remember the adage about take pictures like there's no description, write a description like there's no pictures. Again, back to Macy's, Bloomingdale's, Crate and Barrel. You're looking at the item and you can pick it up. You can hold it. I get a sense of the weight, how it feels in my hand. They don't have that. So that's why height, the width, okay, call it out, let them know. Again, why? Satisfied buyers, happy buyers. They're coming back on eBay, back to you. And No returns because you told them exactly what size it was, okay? Approximately, but it will help. Because particularly on things, and you may not realize there's like 10 different sizes of Mickeys or Minnies, but you will if you're searching on eBay. And if you're using the product research tool, you'll certainly see it. But that's why doing general searches with your phone or just with the desktop can be really helpful. You go, oh my gosh, there's like 6 inches and 9 inches and 12 inches and huge variety. But certainly with vases, cups, 8-ounce cups, 10, 12, 14. So help your buyers because that way, what? Cash is staying in your pocket, few returns, no returns, which is what we're after. And happy buyers. We all want happy buyers, right? Because happy buyers means happy sellers. Okay, so is you have choices on your return offer returns. Again, unless it's something like customized, I get it, but offer returns. Measure, 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 measure. And there's measurements with just about everything. Okay, measure, 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 measure. My last tip, so number 1, offer returns. 2, measure. 3rd tip, this is a biggie, note the imperfections in your title, okay? I see this all the time, particularly men's clothing, because I'm shopping on eBay a lot for my husband, is there's no mention of the imperfection in the title. How do I, and it's there in the picture, but man, I got to look closely on some of these because this is typically with some of these really cool men's shirts, there's a button missing. Now, it may be a button further down, so it's one that would be around the waist or around the hip, so it may work like I don't even have to worry about it because I could tuck the shirt in, but you better let me know that. And if there's a small stain, like on ladies' dresses, there's a small stain, but it's at the hem and it's under the hem. It's like it's not even going to show. You better tell people. Because some people get very upset by that or they want to know. And that's why you're knocking off a few bucks. And that's why you're $5 cheaper than the other person. Put it in the title. And I can hear sellers saying, oh, but Kathy, I'm putting it in the description. Yes. Do you know how hard it is to find descriptions on eBay? Go look on desktop, but particularly on mobile, it's hard. You'll look at the item and it says, see full description. You have to click it and look at it. Most people, they look, they see your fabulous picture, they see your title about the fabulous shirt, they see the price. Oh my gosh, it's $10 cheaper than everybody else, $5 cheaper than everybody else. I better grab this thing right away, right? And they don't read the description. They get it. They're unhappy because it's missing a button. There's an ink mark they didn't know about. There's some it's the hem is pulling out, whatever it is. The doll doesn't have the little book that it originally came with, and they didn't realize it because they just saw the doll at such a good price and they buy it and then they open a return on you. Now, yes, it's in the description. You can go, it's in the description, but you know what? You're assuming they read the descriptions and they may not. Okay. So this is one of those things where sometimes you duke it out with eBay, but technically, yes, it is in the description, but you know what? It would really help your buyer out if you put it in the title. So technically, probably the buyer would end up having to pay for the return, but man, they're going to be unhappy about it because it wasn't in the title. It wasn't clear in the pictures, like it was missing the button, but it was like the 5th picture. And you didn't even refer to the fact that it was in the 5th picture in the description. You just said, look at the pictures rather than tell them. So I would do right away in the title, I would say imperfection, missing button. I like the word imperfect because it gets them to read the description, which is what you want, imperfect. And then in the description, I say what it is, stain, whatever, missing button. And I tell them which picture has the stain or the missing button showing. Look at number 4 for the stain. Look at number 4 for the hem pulling out. Look at number 4 for the chip in the cup, whatever it is. Now, if it is something like a chip or a crack, just because it's a short word, you can usually get that into the title. Chipped, cracked, that kind of thing. That can really help with the ceramic, okay? But otherwise, I use the word imperfect. I don't like to use the word stained, particularly with clothing, because that tends to really put people off because they think it's a monster stain, and it may not. It may just be a small stain. So that's why I will use the word imperfect, and then I'll detail it in the description with the picture. But particularly chips, cracks, hem pulling out, you know, a million different things that could be wrong with the item. And again, with vintage items, I see people say has vintage wear typical of vintage, you know, whatever of this kind. what? And the vintage wear is a chip or a crack, call it out. It's got a chip on the edge of the plate. Look at picture 5. There's cracking here. Look at picture 6. Call out exactly what the vintage wear is. A lot of times the linens, because they're aged, they're yellow, they're brown. Call it out. Yellowing, browning, typical of vintage lace. Look at do a close-up. Look at the close-up picture 5. Okay. Again, you don't want to fight with people. You don't want people being mad. You want people to be clear, because let me tell you, if it's called out in the title and you told them exactly where it was and then they get it and they go, I didn't know it wasn't cracked. And you can say, I'm so sorry you overlooked that. It's in the title. Okay. And then again, then they'll say, okay, I'm going to return it. And then they feel less bad about having to pay. Basically, they paid for the shipping to them, and they're going to pay for the shipping back because they realize then that they overlooked it. It just goes for a better buying experience. And sometimes they'll keep it. It's like, you know what? I did overlook it. I really like it. It just has a little chip or whatever. I'm cool. And they'll end up keeping it. Okay. I actually had that happen with a very collectible mug. The mug was worth like $250 without any imperfections. And there was a crack. It was on the bottom. So again, you could totally use it as a pencil cup or something. It was really pretty. I thought, people could even use it as a planter. I, for myself, would not want to microwave something. It was a microwavable mug with a chip in it. I just go, I don't feel totally great about that. But I wanted the person to know so they can make a decision for them. I put chipped in the title. I did a close-up of the chip. I called out the chip in the description. Person bought it. They got it. They left me glowing feedback, and the feedback said, I didn't realize it had a chip till I bought it. Love the mug. And they must have gone back and read the title and everything and then realized, and they kept it and they were fine because I had called it out in the title and it was a lovely mug and I gave them a really good deal. It was something like $250 with absolutely nothing wrong with it. And I think I priced it under $100. I mean, I got it for like $2. I was like totally cool about that. So again, return policy makes people more comfortable to shop with you. You've got a variety. Pick the one that works for you. And if for some reason you're doing something like free returns because you want that little extra search juice, and then all of a sudden it's like you start to get stuff back, just revise it. I've had that happen to me in categories. And then it shifts back, like all of a sudden you're fine. And then you try it again and you don't get a lot of returns. So sometimes things go in cycles. Measure, and put those measurements in the description. If you can get some of them like small, medium, or 6-inch teddy, 9-inch teddy, 10-inch doll, if you can get that into the title, it will really help you. Call out imperfections. Get something in the title so that they're really clear that there is some kind of vintage wear or mark or chip or crack or stain. Get it in the title. So it really encourages your buyer to read the description and look at the picture. So they're happy, right? And then you have happy buyers. You have a happy bank account and you're a happy seller. And speaking of happy sellers, there is still plenty of time to be selling Father's Day. In fact, Father's Day is like flying out the doors right now for my sellers. We're working on it in my insiders membership group about running sales and offers and promotions and getting up inventory that's going to be very, very suitable for your Father's Day gifts. And Father's Day is huge. People tend to think of Father's Day for sports. But Father's Day and power tools, right? Dad power tools. Father's Day is a lot. So definitely it's sporting equipment. Definitely it's power tools. But it's a massive, massive category. Dads like all kinds of things. There's dads that love to craft. There's dads that love clothes. They don't want sports gear. Dads love to cook. Dads love to barbecue. But I've got 44 Father's Day gift ideas. This is a PDF. This is actually gleaned from a lot of my retail experience, but things where you can go through your inventory and it might be up and you can sort of highlight it as a Father's Day item. You can go through your unlisted inventory, quickly go through it and go, oh, that would be a great Father's Day item. Let me get that listed right away. It helps you prioritize your listing, but do grab this guide. It's free. It's my gift to you to help you to get more sales right now. Okay. Hi, Melissa. You're welcome. It is an awesome list. Thank you so much. Good. I'm so glad it's helpful for you. But anyway, use it, enjoy it, and have a great week, everybody. I'm Kathy, and I love to be selling. Bye-bye.